Education Platform ibambisene ne-Go Digital SA Foundation. Siyathemba nizolijabulela lolu hlelo.
Sanibonani grade 12 igama Mr. Mthembu we-geography unifundisa geography. So welcome to our today's lesson. So namhlanje grade 12 ngithe asibheke i-urban structure and pattern. So here ukuma nje kwe-urban area. So you know ukuthi urban area yini by now. I-urban area indawo la inama functions amaningi. So uma indawo inama functions amaningi so inama elements amaningi. And then again i-pattern ukuma kwendawo. So la ngizokudwebela grade 12 i-urban structure roughly ngizolokhu ngirefer kuyona as siqhubeka ne-lesson yethu. So I have ama-tall buildings la kwi-center yami, and more notice lama buildings ami ayehla ngibheke lapha ema-sidini ami. Now ngizowaqamba ke lama buildings ami ukuthi ayini. So lama buildings ayi-CBD yami. I-CBD i-Central Business District. So what do we do lana? So find out nje at a later stage. Then bese ukuthi ngala ema-sidini ami wethu ama-side ami le ndawo sibiza nge-transition zone. Nangala futhi sine transition zone. Okay, mawuqhubeka ke la grade 12 uya ka right wakho uqhubeka ka left. Uzothola futhi amanye ama functions, thole esinye structure. La you can notice ukuthi now it's on the outskirts of the city. So ama functions obviously azoshintsha ke awakhona wasezukufana nawe CBD. And then la ila isola khona ama light industries. Okay, remember ke grade 12 into engizoyenza ngaleli page lami ngoba vele incane. Into engizoyenza ngizovele ngifaka ama functions ngala ka right nangala ka left. So uma ngasasithola ispace ngala singwafaka ngala, you must know ukuthi lawo ma functions asuke on both sides. So into engizama ukuyichaza is whatever ngikubhalayo ngala kusuke kungala futhi. So la just next to i-CBD ngizobhala nje ukuthi informal settlement. It's informal settlement. Right. And then again grade 12 i-informal settlement izotholakala futhi nangale ka right wami. Okay, as ngiqhubeka ke there's a vegetation yami laphayana, there's a vegetation yami. But before a vegetation ngizofaka nje lama buildings amancane. And lama buildings ngiwabiza nge-suburban shopping center. Right. Nangala futhi grade 12 ikhona i-suburban shopping center. And then if uqhubeka futhi ushona le ka right naka left wami, and then ke uzothola into esiyibiza ngokuthi should I say heavy industries. My heavy industries. Ngizofaka kuma brackets ke grade 12. Ngizofaka kuma brackets ama heavy industries. Ngizobhala nje la kuma brackets ami ukuthi this is a rural urban fringe. Okay. It's not a rural urban fringe, but it's a rural urban fringe. Now, grade 12, ngifuna sibheke la structure sethu of this urban area esengiyidwebile la phansi. I want us to have a look at ama zones wonke lawo esingwadwebile la kusukela kwi CBD to transition to light industries to heavy industries which are found la kuma rural urban fringe, and then also la kuma transition zones sibheke nama informal settlement, sibheke even nama suburban shopping centers. You must remember here grade 12 ukuthi within a structure sethu lesi sesidwebile la phansi, there is also ama lights or ama low income or abanye bawabiza ngama low cost housing. So asuke close to CBD, and ngizokutshela manje ukuthi indaba ama low cost or ama low income residential areas la close to CBD. Okay, even noma ubheka futhi ngale ema-site far away from CBD, and then uzothola ama high income residential areas, lawo ma types of ama settlement la amayadi akhona suke emakhulu, amayadi akhona nama swimming pools, indawo isuke ibiza ngale ndlela yabo. So that is why we say it's a high income residential area or zone. Okay, asiqhubeke grade 12 sibheke lama land zones ethu ke ukuwasebenzisa kwethu ukuthi how do we use them. Sizoqala nje nge-CBD. Remember ukuthi ngitheni ke ukuthi ngithe yini CBD grade 12. CBD ngithe it's a central business district. Okay. Right. Now, where do we find this zone? It's very important grade 12 ukwazi lento for i-exam yakho. We find CBD in the center of the city, so it's situated, it is in the center of either the city or town. So ila sola khona ke I central business district. Okay, one may ask herself ukuthi what do we use CBD for? Yini le lapha kwi CBD? Very important grade 12 ukwazi ama functions awe CBD. Functions, which what do we find lapha yana kwi CBD, right? La siyasithola izinto such as ama shopping center, mhlambe ukubeka kube clear ke mhlambe grade 12 will be so that uzotshela examine ukuthi mina ngiyasazi istory sami. Mhlambe ungathi nje this is where we find stores, ngoba i-examiner mhlambe izoba confused ukuthi what do you mean ke manje by shopping center, ngoba siyazi ukuthi ama shopping center ajwayele ukuyimela most of the time. So it's best mhlambe ukuthi uvele ubhale ukuthi it has stores. Okay, also CBD yethu it has even ama offices. Mhlambe you may find even post offices or even government buildings or government offices. Right. Ngicabanga clear manje aphendeka ke manje nge-CBD yethu. Remember ukuthi 10 grade 12 nge-CBD yethu sithe CBD is found in the center of the city or the urban area. So which means even if you go to town, ungasayi kwi-city, even if you go to town, uzoyithola ile CPD yakho even if we are kusithi uzoyithola still again CPD yakho. Right, let us look at the land values. How are the land values within the CPD? Land values within the CPD. How are the land values within the CPD? Number one, land values are very expensive. Why land values are expensive in the CPD? It's simply because this area here is CPD, it's in demand. So CPD is in great demand. Why are we great demand CPD? It's because everyone wants to do business, everyone wants to work lapha with CPD, and everyone wants to live as well, because there's also a residential area within the CPD. But leon daiko common, okay, right, grade 12, there's a greater demand of land within the CPD. So, and then also lastly, it's central. So one of the things ezenza ukuthi CPD ibize, the land values akhona ibize, is because of the centrality of it. So the more it's central, the more it's going to be accessible. Okay, it's accessible. Right, now we are done with CPD. We now know what CPD is. We find it in the center of the city of town. And then if we look at our land values, land value is very expensive. And then the examiner will ask you, land value is expensive within the CPD. And then which is because it's in great demand. And then also it's in the center. And then also, as with center, it's more or easily accessible. Okay, sihambe sekwenye futhi izone yethu sibiza nge-transition zone. Remember, number 2, i-transition zone yethu. Another name for i-transition zone sibiza nge-zone of decay. Right. So it's important grade 12 for manje ukuyazi i-transition zone yethu ukuthi itholakala mase ngikhumbuze nje kancane nje i-transition zone yethu nansi lapha yana is just outside of the CPD. And then also you can see ukuthi la transition zone density of our building is starting to decline. So as it's decline, so as the land value is decline. And now, one of the things we mentioned at grade 12 lapha nge-CPD, which it consists of our high-rise buildings, as you can see lana kwisithombe sakho. So it's one of the things ezenza futhi ukuthi indawo ibize. So let us look at a transition zone and sibheke ukuthi inani. So where do we find the transition zone? So igama liyazisho ke grade 12. I-transition ukushintsha, it's the change. So basically you are changing from ama-functions ayashintsha from CPD to a transition. That is why we say it's a transition zone. So sithola ushintsho ke manje. Now this zone is found on the outskirts of the city. Right. It's not very exactly, it's not exactly found on the actual outskirt as such, but it's just found la next to le zone lena grade 12 iwusisi noma ingane ye-CBD. So the reason why there is a transition zone is because CBD ibisigcwele laphayana, and also those people who cannot afford ukuthenga or ukwenza business within the CBD now, they will opt bazokhetha ukuyokwenza business labo laphayana kwi transition zone. And then again grade 12 kumele ukukhumbule lana some of the buildings lana yene bengawashintsha from being residential areas to a commercial. So here some residential areas have been converted to commercial, and the examiner futhi izokubuza ke ukuthi why ama buildings bewashintshile from a residential area to being from a residential area to a commercial, and then usuzoyisupporta ke manje answer yakho ke grade 12 ukuthi is because of the land demands in the CBD. So these people could not get the land lapha kwi CBD, so ba decide ukuya lapha yana ke kwi transition zone. And then also the land here, the land is cheaper than the CBD. Right. So our land values la are cheaper than CBD. So everyone can afford kahle kahle ukuhlala or ukwenza business lakhe la with transition zone. Okay. Now, what type of buildings eswathola lana ke with transition zone? So buildings here most of the time asuke engemahle kahle kahle. So they're starting to lose estate saw. So buildings in this area, buildings in this zone is starting to decline in its state. So which means i-value yawo ke manje, i-value, i-land value or ama buildings as such aseqala ukwehla ke manje. Okay, in terms of ukubiza kwawo. Remember ngithe ngizolokhu ngikukhumbuza nje nge-urban structure yami engiyidwebe lana. So ama land values, the reason why they are declining ilana is because these buildings are not being taken care of. And another thing as introducer kule zone which is called the transition zone, ngithe elinye igama sibiza ngezone of decay. So ukudecay nje ukubola ke, so nalana ke futhi transition zone yakho ama buildings akho aseqala ukuluza i-value, reason being they are not being taken care of. So lokhu uzohlangana nakho uma usuwenza ama urban issues. So ama urban issues bazokutshela nje laphayana ukuthi one of the issues laphayana oma urban blights, yabo. So lapho iland ama buildings akhona asuke sengekho right, yabo, esuke sidinga ukupendwa or renovatewa or do anything, yabona. Right. Asambise kwenye zone ke, which is the third one. sibiza ngama-light industries. Okay, as for exam grade 12, it's important. Kubalulekile nje ukwazi ama-light industries ukuthi yini ama-light industries and where exactly do we find ama-light industries and why are light industries situated where they are. So leyo nto ebalulekile for exam grade 12. So hamba uye kwi-exam room usuprepayile zonke lezo zinto ke. Now where do we find ama-light industries? Light industries are situated or located just after the transition zone. Now, what type of industries are these? These are industries that do not cause smoky as well as in noise pollution. So, which means yes, there is smoke, there is pollution, a little bit of pollution, but so if we chaza into the exam, rather say ungasho ukuthi mhlambe there is no pollution, vele uthi there's less pollution. So that's phela uzoyichaza le examiner ukuthi wena uyazi ngokuthi uyazi ngama-light industries ukuthi as be producer lapha yana ikhona pollution eyenzakalayo. So itshele examiner ukuthi at least there is less pollution there. There's less pollution. What type of pollution? It's noise as well as air pollution. So there's less pollution there. There's less pollution. There's less noise pollution as well. So examples of these light industries. Kubalulekile ukuthi swazi ama examples of ama-light industries. Ama-light industries, we're talking about ama-companies anjengamo ABI. So ABI is well known ukuthi iyakhe ama-lento ama-cool drinks. So ABI wakha ama-cool drinks. So there is little a noise pollution esuka ka ABI, as well as there's little air pollution eyenziwa u-ABI. And then another example mhlambe esingayifaka mhlambe light industry would be the shoe industry. It's a shoe industry. Okay. Now, what type of buildings does a light industry needs or requires? So this type of industries, it requires a multiple story building. I would say izowasebenzisa wonke cha. What I'm trying to say, grade 12, is it can be anywhere next to a CBD. So it can even be situated within a multi-story building, or just outside the multi-story building. So which means you can have even a residential area next to a light industry. Reason being, ayiwenzi umsindo and ayungcolisi umoya kangako. So that is why we say it may require even a multiple story building. Now, what type of raw material abayidingayo ke lana ke? They need less materials or raw materials, in order to function. So incane kahle kahle I material abayidingayo lana so that bezokwenza ama-business up. So just to sum it up, we grade 12 ama-light industries. These are industries that are found just outside a transition zone. They emit less pollution, as well as they cause less noise pollution. So examples engithe now ABI, which is a company that produces drinks, soft drinks, and then also shoe industries. They can be anywhere around the CBD, because they can even be operating multi-story buildings, as well as they require materials amancane, so that bezoqhuba i-business labo. Okay, asambe sekwenye izone yethu grade 12. Asambe sekwi-suburban. Suburban shopping center. It's actually sorry. Suburban shopping center. Right. Now, ngixolele writing yami grade 12. All right. Suburban shopping center yona, it's found ngale kuma OPD. There's something called the OPD. So OPD so it's actually an outlying business district. La kahle kahle OPD comes as a result of decentralization. So decentralization, it's just ukuthatha ama-functions lapha kwi-CBD because of different reasons eyiswe lapha yana kude kune-CBD, so that whoever is shopping, whoever is working lapho will have a peace of mind. So sisazoyibheka nje izinto ama-issues ezisibheka iy'nkinga ehlangabezana lapha kwi-urban settlement. Sisazobheka ama-issues lawa azolidela ekutheni kuze kube nento esibiza nge-decentralization. Okay, i-shopping center which is a suburban shopping center, isuke it is a shopping center that is found within a residential area. It's actually a residential area. Okay, e.g. Ilalusha Mall. It's actually Lalusha, yeah, it's Lalusha Mall. It's Lalusha Mall, yeah. Alright, Ilalusha Mall, it's situated within a suburb. And learners, I think it's important how do we differentiate between a suburban shopping center and a regional shopping center. A suburban shopping center itholakala la kuhlala khona abantu, and then bese kuthi a regional shopping center yona itholakala la on the main road or on the national road khona. So which means yona is easily accessible. Kanti a suburban shopping center yona it can only be accessed mostly by abantu abahlala around yona ke iland. A suburban shopping center, for example, Ilalusha Mall. Right. What does this consist of? A suburban shopping center. It consists of large parking or parkings. So this shopping center, it has a large parking space, and then also it's safe. It's very safe there in those suburban shopping center because there's less crime. So izinto njengama car hijacking, car thefts zisuke zincane kakhulu. And then also there's peace of mind nje uyishophela lapha yana kwi suburban shopping center because there's less traffic congestion. There's less traffic. So there's less traffic lapha yana kwi suburban shopping center, so it's peace of mind. I think isiqedile grade 12 suburban shopping center. Sesingaya ke manje siyobheka another zone which is dominated here manje grade 12 by settlement. Ngizoyifaka nje la ngesqueezer in which is called the informal settlement. What type of settlement is this? Before we can know what type of settlement is this, kumele sazi ukuthi itholakala laphi yona. It is found on the outskirt of the city. So which means ama informal settlement as city yami grows because of the shortages of jobs and all that. Abantu, they will opt to build their houses just next to shopping island, CBD. Bazozakha la izindlu zabo so that they can access place of umsebenzi easily. So the whole aim of ama informal settlement ukuthi allocate la next to CBDs because they want to have easy access to imsebenzi yabo. Sometimes ungathola ukuthi laba bantu they are doing what you call informal, they are involved in informal sector. They are involved, they are vendors. They have amatafula lapha in the city. They are selling fruits. So those people siyazi ba structure abanayo imali engako yokuthi bespende with transport, so they rather bakhe la eduze so that mabevuka bezovele behambe ngeenyawo. So whatever money they make bazi kahle ukuthi it goes to food only, not for transport. So now, what type of settlement is informal settlement? It consists of informal structures. It consists of informal structures. So which means yakhiwe nanoma ngani etholakalayo lapha yana. So kungaba mhlawumbe nama cardboards, isettlement ingakhiwa ngama cardboards, yakhiwe mhlawumbe ngama plastic and everything that is available around the area engaba imaterial yowakha umjondolo. So informal settlement, you will remember here ukuthi ngalesi sikhathi senza rural depopulation, abantu besuka ngale kuma rural areas beya kuma urban areas beyithembisa ukuthi bazothola umsebenzi. Mase bengasawutholi umsebenzi but decide ukwakha ama informal settlement emkhukhu lapha next to the city. So uma beqhubeka bengayithola umsebenzi, they come up with different ways of surviving. Kumele be survive, kumele bedle phela ngithi. So the only way that they will survive would be to set up amatafula abo ke lapha yana with CBD. Okay, I think that that sums up informal settlement and the reason why it's situated next to the city. Okay. Asambe se lapha yana ye manje kuma heavy industries. Heavy industries. Where do we find these heavy industries? We find them in the urban, rural, fringe. Okay. Now, what type of the zone is a heavy industry? A heavy industry, it consists of, it's the type of industry that emits more pollution, so it emits more smoke. So it emits more smoke, thus causing air pollution. Okay. As well as noise pollution, it makes like big noise. So it also makes noise pollution. So ama-point ke lawa grade 12 ekumele nje uwabhale kwi-exam yakho masubhala mhlambe ama 1 or 2 words or 4 marks questions ekumele uwafake, right? So heavy industry is found in the urban rural urban fringe, to put it that way. So it's because rural urban fringe, it's actually fringe, isuke nama-functions amabili kahle kahle. Isuke nama-functions rural nawe-urban at the same time. So which means isuke ingale on the outskirts of the city, isuke sekugcineni. So mase ngikudebele nje ngikukhumbuze kancane nje nansi CBD yami lapha yana nanka ama-heavy industries, and you can see ukuthi they are emitting lots and lots of smoke. So they are just way ngaphandle kwelento kwe-CBD, they are on the outskirts. Okay, another thing that you need to know about heavy industries is heavy industries needs a source of water. They need source of water for their production. So mabe producer whatever baproducayo basebenzisa amanzi amaningi. And then enye into futhi abayidingayo, these types of industries must be located next to transport routes. Why is this the case, grade 12? Why a heavy industry needs to be situated along the transport routes? It's because of two things. Okokuqala bafuna ukwenzela ama-workers akhona. They want their workers to easily access the place, bengabi late. So they need a transport route that is quicker to get them from their houses or from their homes to the place of work. Another thing is for transportation of raw materials, or just if I'm a finished products, let's say finished product to be transported to the markets, right? So angithi kuma heavy industries producer izinto mhlambe for instance nje produce insimbi nje kanje yabo. So you need to transport le nsimbi ke manje. Ngeke uzuqala uguduze indawo so that uzo access u freeway noma main road. Kuzomela ukuthi mawusuka nje la kule industry uvela ungene nje straight to a freeway so that the product yakho can easily be transported to a market la abayidinga khona, or it can easily go to a harbor ke. Iharbor ila okuhlala khona imkhumbi, le mkhumbi transporter whatever raw material, whatever products enziwe la in a country. So it's very important ukwazi lokho ke grade 12. And then another thing that you need to know about heavy industries is because heavy industries, since they make lots and lots of noise and pollution, they need to be situated far away from ECPD so that they cannot disturb abantu abahlala khona laphayana or abasebenza mhlambe kuma offices. Right, I think kumele size kuma land values ke manje. The land values for heavy industries. Now, what's land values? How are land values lapha kuma heavy industry? Badinga indawo enjani kahle kahle. So ama land values lapha yana kuma heavy industries are cheap, very cheap. Reason being, the land is not in demand. The reason is, or reasons, the land is not in demand. And then another reason would be it is not easily accessible by anyone. Right, so the land values here are very, very cheap. So in Dow it's all very, very cheap. And then reason being it's because I go in demand, so in far away, so it's very difficult we access action in Dow over land we travel noma uyithathele nje iwalk uye kuyona. So it's, remember, it's far away from the CPD. Some advantages akhona would be there's no traffic there. So even though there would be noise, there's no traffic, so which means there will not be delays in terms of transporting whatever ama products la usuwenzile to the actual market or customer. Okay, I think that is all you need to know about land values for heavy industries, and as well as heavy industries as such, as a zone. Kumele uwazi ukuthi itholakalapi, which is tholakala we outskirts of the city, ngale we rural urban fringe. So rural urban fringe siyama functions akhona awu-2, khona i-function rural area, khona i-function urban area. That is why we call it a rural urban fringe. And then also the land there is cheap, and then also it's flat. Ngicela ungakhohlwa grade 12 ukuthi the land here is flat. They need flat land. You don't want to be on a steep slope uma on a heavy industry, because nama truck phela lana yabo ekumele engene in and out transporter lama goods akho suwenzile. So you need to have a flat land, so the place must be situated in a flat land. So I think that sums up le zone esibiza nge heavy industry grade 12. So ama questions mhlambe angaphuma lapha na grade 12 mhlambe ku exam yakho will be, why is the land value cheap within the heavy industries? and then you will support the answer the way I've supported my answers, my statement lana, and then bese uma mhlawumbe ngikubuyisele nje emuva kancane nje grade 12 bazokubuza ke lapha ukuthi so okay now if land value ke mosuka lapha yana ku CBD towards outskirts of the city, which is the rural urban fringe la kunama heavy industries akhona, how is the land value? Does it decrease or does it increase? Yabo, and then usuzosho ukuthi the land value it decreases because of its demand. Yabo, but uma unyuka from the rural areas which are situated lapha, I think next to, not even I think, but they are situated next to the rural urban fringe. If usuka khona uya lapha kwi CBD, the land values will decrease, will increase. Reason being, it's in great demand. So indawo iyafunakala lapha kakhulu kwi CBD. Alright. Ngabantu mhlawumbe kumele sikubhale phansi futhi lokho grade 12. Sibhale nje ama land values as well as ama building density. Right. Esiqale nje ngama land values. Asithi nje land values decrease as you go from the CBD to a rural urban fringe. Okay, so the land values obviously it decreases as you go from the CBD towards the urban or the rural urban fringe. And then again, land values increase as you go from the rural urban fringe to CBD. Okay, I think that makes sense here, manje grade 12. So the more nje uya ku CBD usuka ma rural urban fringe, since indawo isuke cheap, the more uhamba ke manje uyalapha yana ku CBD, and then I value yawo yama buildings or the land will actually increase. But it's vice versa ke, mosuka ku CBD going towards the rural urban fringe, the land value decrease. Let us look at the density in terms of the density ke manje. Density. Density it's an amount ukusinda at times, but sinala sikufaka njengesindo, but sibheka njenge amount ukuthi how much do we have, how much do we have in the CBD, how much do we have in the rural urban fringe. So we're looking at the number of buildings that are found or available lapha kwi CBD as well as kwi rural urban fringe. So density increases as you go from the rural urban fringe to a CBD. It's actually the C. Okay, the CBD. Right. Right. Now it's obvious. Grade 12. Now the CBD and it consists of high-rise buildings, and we have like so many of them grouped together. Kodwa ngale on the other side la esinama sinama heavy industries khona ama buildings ethu asuke emancane, so it's vice versa ke. And then again grade 12, one of the question abangakubuza mhlambe kwi exam will be what activities are found or functions that are there in the rural urban fringe. What are things that are found in etholakalayo? And then sithola izinto njengama airports, sithola izinto njengama sewage systems, yabo zonke lezo zinto, they need to be far away from a rural area, from ama urban areas. They need to be far away from ama residential areas, because number one i-airport yakho yenza i-air pollution as well as noise pollution kakhulu ke. So amabhano mayisuka mayihlala enza umsendo, and then also they also pollute the air, as well as ama sewage systems. Ama sewage systems akekho ofisa ukwakhelana ne sewage system because iyanuka, so in a pollution yayo ke. So grade 12, I think that is a summary of the urban structure lekade siyenza nama patterns akhona, but sisazowenza nje kahle ama patterns akhona masisenza i-revision, sisibheka even imigaqo yakhona and all that. But for now ngicela nje ukuthi ngiyibambelana sihambe sisebenzise le information esesitholile for i-revision yethu for i-final exams. Ngicela nje ukubonga kakhulu ngesikhathi, size sibonane nje ngokuzalo. Ngiyabonga.
Ningakhohlwa ukuthi nisengathokozela ezinye izifundo eziyisithupha kanye nezengeziwe i-learner wellness, i-career guidance kanye ne-advanced program. Hlanganyela nathi kwizifundo ezi-online ku-068 151 1072 noma ku-GoDigi@godigitalsa.today. Siyabonga.